Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Season 2 of So Tell Me with Phil Bhojwanay, the show where questions about society and utter stupidity are based on my mood for the day. My guest today is comedian and author Adam Minnick. Adam has performed stand-up all across America as well as Ireland and Australia. In addition to his stand-up, he's also author of the book The Adventures of My Crazy Uncle Adam, and most recently a screenplay film entitled Piaget's Viare, aka By Faith. Welcome to the show, Adam. How are you?
Good. How are you, Phil?
Good, sir. So, I want to actually get into the screenplay right away first, because I was reading through the synopsis that you sent me about the screenplay that you wrote, and of course I thought it to be quite interesting. Tell us a little bit about it first before we move on.
Okay. Well, it's just a look at a different side of the war, about World War II, and all the camps of death, concentration, execution, slave camps. And what drove me to write a script is my grandparents went to the camps during the war. They were Polish Catholic.
Yep.
And I visited Auschwitz a couple times.
Have you?
And there's a newspaper clipping that they saved from Germany, and it's from Hitler, and he just wants to get rid of all Polish people, any Polish descent, to get rid of them. And so Poland is at the time it's Jewish or Catholic. It was less the predominant two religions. So and there's been the second highest concentration of people who went to the camps were Polish Christians, Catholics mainly. And so I thought, you know what, I'd like to write a movie from telling another story. Friends would ask about my grandparents, and I would tell them their like life story, and the main reaction I got from them was, we didn't know you were Jewish. And I'm like, I'm not Jewish, but I think it's a story that needs to be told. It's a lot of history books, especially textbooks, kids read these days. In the past, they don't tell the whole truth. They don't tell everything that went in. And a textbook's different because there's so much to cover. There's so much you can only cover, but history books themselves, there's very little written on it.
Yeah, but so what sort of sparked this in you? Was it because your grandparents were part of I think you had mentioned to me that they were actually part of the damage that had gone on within that time period and whatnot, and is that what drew you to I guess in some ways drawing and writing out the storyboard for the story?
Yeah, part of it was to do it for my grandparents.
Right.
Another part was do it for those Polish people who survived that. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents, their friends kind of always said that why people have forgotten our story. People don't know our story. They know about the Jewish people. The world knows about the Jewish story, but the Polish Catholic story there's very little talked about.
So your heritage is your background is Polish, is that right? Are you
yes.
Is it fully Polish? Okay. Well, I mean,
no, not fully.
It's not fully, but I mean just. Sorry, go on.
No, yeah. I guess about half would be Polish. My heritage, I guess you could say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, I was just gonna say. So I mean, being comedians and whatnot, we got to throw in a joke here and there. I mean, if you're Polish, I mean, you spend half your life facing the wall, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay. Well. So anyway, but that aside, so how many pages is the screenplay, and how do you intend? Are you planning on getting this out to a production company, or just is it a passion project of yours? What do you want to do with it eventually? Obviously, to get it directed at some point, but is there someone in mind that you would love to direct this film?
No, there's a movie that's coming out. I believe it's could be April, May. I have to go back and look at the previews, but it would be Ridley Scott would be great. I love Ridley Scott. I could see because that movie coming out called Dunkirk.
Yep. With Tom Hardy.
It's fantastic.
It does.
And just the way it's shot. I love the visual from the previews. It's a passion project. I would love to get it out. I mean, I feel like I keep running the dead ends with literary agents. And I'm working with a studio right now. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I'm putting my faith into them, but who knows? So I'm just I'm still feeling around, seeing what my options are. Just trying to weigh my options.
All right. And how many pages is a screenplay, by the way? I mean, generally about 90
Oh,
pages, 100.
It's about 98 pages.
Wow. And you wrote. And how long did you take to write this whole thing?
It probably took me a couple years to do, and I would, the whole process was I would go to a coffee shop on Friday night, and I'd have my computer, and I'd buy a bottle of wine, and I would just sit there for about 6-7 hours, just typing away.
Wow.
And then, I would go at it.
And where are you based at?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati. Okay.
Right
Well,
now.
Cincinnati WKRP. There we go. I love that show.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah, I know that
yeah.
show. Absolutely. Sorry, you were saying, so you used to write for about 7 hours a day in the coffee shop in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And that's how you got the thing developed. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment, isn't it, Alex? I mean, you take you take that long to write something, and the kids today, they're so fucking lazy. They don't want to do anything for more than 7 minutes. So I don't think they can even last 7 minutes in bed with each other. So let alone write a fucking story. So well done. Kudos to you on that. I hope that the screenplay picks up and takes off. I mean, with reference to the literary agents, you have to really, just keep chipping away, because these guys, they just don't really care unless you sort of have, a lot of luck on your side.
Yeah, and I met, a couple of years ago, I went to LA, and I met with two producers, and they said, this is a great script, but it's too big of a budget. And I would disagree with them on that, but they just kind of gave me advice on how to go about it, and I've taken that information. It makes you realize more. I mean, I learned something going out. I mean, even though they didn't pick it up, I still learned something from the whole process.
But what would you think the budget would be? What's the figure in your head?
You could probably now the studio I'm working with said they could do it for about 7 to 10 million. I think it'd be about 10 million.
Well, that's all right.
The way I wrote it.
I mean, they're giving.
The way I wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving M. Night Shyamalan, who's had a series of flops, 5-10 million all the time, to do something stupid. And I think this year he's finally come up with something decent called Split. So Split that actually looks pretty good with James McAvoy. But prior to that, he had about 4 or 5 flops. But I guess it's always the first one with The Sixth Sense, and that's when you sort of pick up. I mean, if the first one's a hit, they give you a shot right after that again. But
and the way I've written it, you don't need like big fight. There's not huge explosions and huge war scenes. I mean, people know the story of World War II. They know what overly exaggerated. They know the war scene that's been done. So, and it also, my grandparents, after the war, they immigrated to Australia. So,
I wanted to ask, you do have a little bit of an Australian accent. I think you mentioned that you were living in Australia for some point, and you had some shows over here.
Yeah, well, first 10 years of my life I spent in Perth, part of it. So it's back and forth. I still have my citizenship in Australia.
You do?
Wow. And I've entertained. I mean, I've looked at studios in Australia, a couple, and it's just been kind of a dead end there too.
Yep.
So it's.
Well, look at me. Look at where I'm at. Look at me at my studio over here. I'm at a dead end as well. Look at the guy I'm sitting next to. He's half asleep over there.
Hey, he's playing at the Australian Open. He's playing music. So,
I know, that's why he doesn't care about me. Look at how he's ballooned up. Look at him. Come and take a picture of yourself over here. Look at him. You're so lucky you're not on the screen. He's telling me to move on. Hurry up with that. He's in a bad mood today. Yeah, no, but look, because you have a bit of an Australian. Doesn't he have an Australian accent? Don't you find it? Yeah, even Alex agrees, and Alex is as Aussie as it gets. Lazy, fat, does nothing. So aside from playing what instrument do you play?
Bass.
The bass. See, even the bass, he plays the worst thing of the lot. He's like pretty much useless. Anyway, let me segue from Alex to something else, because he's furious right now. He's about to sit on me with his size. I don't need that. With reference to script, and screenplay, I wish you the best of luck with that. Still, whilst being on the topic of screenplays and books and whatnot, let me touch on your book that you wrote called what's the title? The Adventures of My Crazy Uncle Adam. What's that about? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah.
Well, it's just basically it's a story told through through my 5-year-old nephew, talking about how I was excited I'm going to visit, because I always have stories of traveling, and I've got countries like Iceland and Denmark and in Australia and New Zealand, all that. So I try to I try to include animals around the world, and it rhymes, and it's intended for 3 and ups. Obviously, very easy read. But yeah, I wrote. I went through self-publishing route, and I had about I think about 200 printed, and I'm left at about 10, and that was a few years ago.
And
So I've sold through.
what year was this published?
Oh, geez, I have to even get a book. Had been published.
You gotta get a book for your book.
2014.
2015.
About 2015, 2014.
All right, so it's pretty recent, yeah.
But yeah.
So 2014 or 15, and you had about 200 copies sold. Were they sold to children itself?
Yes.
Yeah. You didn't give them away, did you?
Yeah, parents.
Parents.
What's that?
You didn't give them away to the kids, did you?
No.
Because
I would sell them after shows.
Okay.
I would also after shows and I thought, a lot of comedians sell CDs and T-shirts. I'll try a different route. Try something a little bit different.
All right, and speaking of your shows, I saw a little bit of your stand-up the other night on. I think you perform in. I forget the name of the comedy club, but I quite enjoyed it actually. It was very. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, it was subtle yet sort of like you say, in your face, and it had a genuine feel to the punchlines and the storytelling towards it. But I mean, with reference to comedy today, people don't really seem to be. I mean, everything's gone the Jimmy Fallon and James Corden route, hasn't it? With the fucking stupid music and the singing and dancing and whatnot. I mean, doesn't that annoy you?
All skits. I don't know. Everything has its place. I think that way it works for them. I think it's great for them. But I get what you mean. I see what you mean. I don't know. I like stand up itself. I think it's a blast. It's fun. It also as you know, you can have some nights that are off that don't go very well.
Oh, trust me, I know. But, today's one of them. Yeah. All right, fair enough. Yeah. And so, are you still performing? Still doing stand up across America, or has that taken a backseat with the writing and whatnot?
No, I've been actually February looks pretty good. I'm off in the great state of Indiana this Saturday.
That's right.
Yeah, Midwest. But then February looks great. March is good, so I'm just starting, just constantly booking, contacting managers, agencies, all that.
That's nice. That's all right. So you've got things going on for you, essentially. I mean, everything is... You're living the typical comedian's life. You're just pushing away and throwing every single punch that you have and hoping to hit something hard and deliver that knockout blow, aren't you? I mean, aside from that, it's just... That's pretty much what it is. But I wanted to actually ask you, sorry, before... I just keep jumping back and forth because, I mean, this show pretty much has no concept to it aside from just how I feel for the day, as you know. And I want to ask you about something that sort of struck me just earlier last night was while reading the synopsis again, back to your screenplay. You said that it was based at. I mean, obviously we know it's based during a timepiece and time period when things were astray and things were not good and everything was in a war zone, so to speak, and whatnot. And I always enjoy talking philosophy and religion and stuff like that. I mean, if we throw that into the mix, where would you stand on stuff like that, personally?
In regarding to religion, you mentioned religion, but where do I stand in regards to
with the script? I mean, because to write something like that, it has to come from a place deep down inside. So something must have religion-wise or spirituality perhaps kicks in, because I mean, to write something like that is not just based on science, is it? I mean, it's fact, but it's not. I mean, there has to be a philosophical aspect to something like that. No one writes a script like this without that in mind.
Yeah, the way I look at it, the way I took the approach as far as religion and that is, with what my grandparents and what millions and millions of people went through, no matter what, Catholic, Jewish, Raj, all the people who suffered these camps. I look at it as it's more of a script on hope and perseverance. When my grandparents they immigrated to Australia, they didn't go to church for a very long time.
Right.
They just kept religion out of it, and then they finally came back to the Catholic Church. And so I figured, they've got this faith, they regained this faith in God and that. And I figured, I could sit down and knock out the script,
Right.
From that idea, from that angle. Like if the least I could do is this,
Yeah.
kind of more of an honor, a remembrance and an honor of those who went through that awful time.
Horrendous.
I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah, no, go on. I mean, this is, no one is here to tell you what to say. It's just an opinion, obviously. So you say whatever you feel like, and because I've always thought that, and with every, because I love film myself. So for me, talking about film is a joy. It's just with every film, you have to have. I hope this. I have not read the screenplay, obviously, but every movie. Whatever it may be on has a love interest. Does this one have a love story as well, between?
Yes,
it does. Okay, and what would that be with your grandfather and grandmother? Is that the story over there?
Yeah, how they met. They met in a refugee camp in Germany. When both camps were liberated, they were sent to the refugee camp, and that's where they met. And so then they had nothing, obviously had nothing with them, and then they spent 4 years in a refugee camp, and then immigrated to Australia.
They immigrated to Australia. Okay.
And so they basically went from, they went to they ended up in Fremantle, just outside of Perth.
Oh, so they went from worse to even worse.
So.
Alex, why you look so upset? Is that your hometown? You want to chip in today? Am I annoying you too much? I like to take the piss out of this guy because I love him to death. He's a nice fellow. He's like my Paul Schaefer, but you got to take the piss out of the guy. If I follow David Letterman's format, we'll have a love story over here going on. I don't need that. And I love David Letterman, by the way, and Paul Schaefer, but those times are over, sadly. At the moment, I always have a question before I end the show, which is, but before I get to that, I want to ask you today, what is your take on life? At the current state of things in America, going on with Donald Trump and the presidency and whatnot. Is there a view that you definitely have a view, and what can you share that with us at the moment? What do you think is actually going on in the world today?
Good Lord.
This show is very off the cuff, as you can tell. As you expect the unexpected with me. It's like that. So I hope you don't mind. And even if you do, I don't really care.
No. No, I don't try to get involved in too much of politics.
Yeah.
I go on Facebook and I see so many people arguing back and forth about their beliefs and who the president, all that, and I just to a point I'm tired.
Yeah, you get fed up of it.
I'm tired of it. I'm done.
Yeah, you do get fed up.
I was done with it 2 years ago. I was done with it 2 years ago when all this stuff started kicking up. I don't know. America's been through worse before, and in 4 years we'll get through this, and we'll have another. I think both political parties are terrible. I think the two candidates we had to vote for were just awful candidates. There was no good answer. There's no. Either way you chose, you lose. I didn't care for either candidate, and I really can't care for either political party. I think in the end they're both the same.
I'll tell you something. Because everything intertwines in life. We're just talking about the presidency, and we're talking about your screenplay, and we're talking about film, and we're talking about movies. I went to see Jackie last night in the cinema over here with Natalie Portman, in a fantastic performance and amazing direction by Pablo Ferrin, I think it was, and it was more obviously a story about the First Lady than it was the President, but the behind the scenes look into the life of how things operate and function within the White House was quite amazing, and we always seem to forget that even the First Lady plays a pivotal role, doesn't she?
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess it all intertwines, so I don't know how Donald Trump is going to do, but I'm very curious, to be very honest, to see how Melania handles everything in there with him, because she seems people seem to think that she's this stupid lady, but I actually think that she isn't. I quite think the opposite, actually, and I guess only time will tell. But before I sign off with you, I have a question that I ask and I close the show with, which is, and I want your take on this, which is, as a society in the past, what were we? What are we now? And what do you see us going into as humanity into the future?
Oh man, as a society, what were we? I think at one time we were more of I think person to person we were more connected.
Mm.
You know, in America, houses used to be built with front porches. That
Yes.
doesn't happen anymore.
Yes.
A lot of homes don't, because people used to sit on the porch and talk to each other.
That's
Because
right.
there's no telephones and computers, and they would chat. But that's gone now.
Mm.
So they don't build homes. They really don't build homes with porches anymore. Where we're at now, I don't. You know, it's people people like to blame technology. But you know, there's some good things that come with it. For example, like obviously this conversation we're having right now. Friends of mine in Australia, I still keep in touch with.
Right.
Cousins in Poland, still keep in touch with. It's a free way. It's a free way to contact friends and family. Where I remember you had to have a calling card or you'd write a letter.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Telegram.
And it took forever to get a letter to them. So where we're going, you know, again, it's interesting because, you know, with technology, there's always there's a good and bad to all technology. Grocery stores you walk into, there's you can check your own food out and then bag it and walk away.
Yeah.
Will that one day get rid of all the people who work in grocery stores, like as far as cashiers? You know, technology can unite us and technology can keep us apart.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting where we end up, especially with everything going on in politics, technology.
I think that
I don't know,
the answer is a question mark, isn't it? To put it succinctly, I guess, with stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much. I mean, the world we live in today. I completely agree. I've asked the same question to every guest on the show and people outside, and everyone sort of always brings up the technological aspect to society. And I think there was only one person who said something aside from said something else that resonated with me, which had nothing to do with technology and how technology actually is affecting everyone. But you said the same thing as in the opposite way, where it's sort of helping everyone else. But, you know, going forward, I don't know how things will be, because if we rely so much on this right now, you know, are we going to lose that humanity within us and just become robotic altogether? So, but only time will tell. So.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. People would rather get out their mobile phone and tape record someone getting beat up or a crime happening than actually help out the person.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely.
You know, it's how we use that technology. So
absolutely, I agree. Absolutely agree. But yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But on that note, Adam, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. And
thank you, Phil.
No worries. It was nice chatting, and do keep in touch, please.
Will do.
All right.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Likewise. Thank you, my friend.
Right.
Take care. Cheers.